Here's Alex Jones.
Well, let me just start the broadcast by putting a timestamp on it, because we stand behind what we say over the years and the decades. Unfortunately, it all comes true right on time, as we're reading the government's own declassified documents about how they work for offshore banks to set up a world government to carry out eugenics against the people of the planet. So it is May 17th, 2009, a Sunday edition. We're going to be live here for the next 2 hours. Lots of phone calls today. 877-590-5525, 877-590-5525 will get you up and on the air. You can also call the local line from the station that the syndicated transmission comes to you from, News Radio 590 KLBJ. That's 836-0590. On any issue, any news item, anything you want to talk about, it is a complete and absolute total free-for-all today. That said, here is the news I have in front of me. The Bilderberg Group meeting is breaking up as we speak. And, well, I guess they're 8 hours ahead of us. So over there, it's almost the 18th over there. Or I guess it is the 18th over there. So yesterday in Greece, but today in North America, the Bilderberg Group concluded its 57th annual meeting. And for those that don't know, I put this in my film, Endgame, Blueprint for Global Enslavement, but now it's been completely declassified by the British and U.S. governments. Wartime Army documents from the Army and Marines and the British military as well, that the Nazis knew they were going to lose by 44. So they went underground and set up an organization that publicly emerged in 54 as the Bilderberg Group. And then they were going to set up a European Union, buy off the United States, and set up a North American Union, and that's in the Globe and Mail, BBC, and other major international publications. Now, I want to be clear. The New World Order is not Nazi. What really happened is, the British media is spinning it that the European Union was set up by Nazis, and that's true to a certain extent. You had a lot of wealth, trillions of dollars, even in the numbers of the 40s, the tens of trillions today, that went underground. And it was intermarried with the British and other wealthy around Europe. And a lot of U.S. financiers and robber barons were buddies with the German aristocracy, the Crumps and others. The Rothschilds of England owned large parts of Germany at the time. The King of England had to advocate because he was a public Nazi, Edward VIII. That's all on record, though it's not common knowledge. It's in the mainline history books. And so in 54, the CIA, with Prince Bernhard of the Netherlands and others, set up the first Bilderberg Group meeting to kind of bring together the German money with the Anglo-American / Dutch money. And the Dutch have always been more closely allied to the Anglo-Americans, the U.S. and England, than they have been to the Germans. But that's kind of the nexus point. That's why it was the go-between point at the Bilderberg Hotel in the Netherlands for that meeting to take place. And the Bilderberg Group has been bragging the last 5 or 6 years. They released their minutes of their first meeting, of some of the meetings in the 60s as well, decades later, where they had bragged that they set up the Treaty of Rome to set up the European Union covertly, that they're setting up the North American Union by stealth, that they're basically shaping the world we live in today, an undemocratic, tyrannical world ruled by a private group of banks. And then the German chancellors and British prime ministers, people like David Rockefeller, write memoirs. He wrote his memoir 4.5 years ago bragging, yes, I'm trying to overthrow the U.S. and set up a new world order. I'm proud of it. Now, the elite will have all the rights in the world under this system, and everybody else will be poor slaves. Now, this is not a good system. Now, in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, and 90s, and on through today, in the year 2009, they run TV shows and movies and news articles making fun of people that believe in the New World Order and international banks. And then they would mix in absurd things, here's a clip. And there's been tens of thousands of things I've seen on television like this. You've all seen it. It's propaganda. You're being brainwashed. Not so funny today, though, when you realize that openly they're announcing a new bank of the world that you will pay your global carbon taxes to. So we've learned the new Bilderberg Group agenda for 2009 to 2010. We'll go over that. That dovetails with Government Ready's Youth Corps to take on veterans in the United States. No, I'm not kidding. You heard me, a youth corps under the federal government to take on U.S. veterans and gun owners. Remember the DHS report a few months ago we broke? People never believed me all the years I warned you. Now we have the declassified documents that their main buildup of Homeland Security is for the American people. It's all been set up for us if we don't like the foreign bankers bankrupting everything. But let's go ahead and play Archie Bunker. And in fact, I don't have the printout in front of me. What year is this Archie Bunker from? I know it was back in the 70s. Here is Archie Bunker back in the 1970s talking about international bankers and communists wanting our guns. Ha, 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 isn't Archie Bunker an idiot? This is so that years later when they openly set it up, when you tried to fight back against it, your neighbors, most of you don't know why you laugh at people that talk about global cabals. Most of you don't know why you won't get involved in defending your country. You've been preconditioned tens of thousands of times by TV and culture that it's kooky to do so. They destroyed your natural defenses for sovereignty, for patriotism. They call it evil nationalism. Well, here they are making fun of Archie Bunker. He's the buffoon. He's the racist. He's the idiot. And how dare him not want to turn his guns in and have international bankers ruling.
Last Saturday.
Good evening, everybody. This is Archie Bunker of 704 Houser Street, veteran of the big war, speaking on behalf of Guns for Everybody. Now, question. What was the first thing that the communists done when they took over in Russia? Answer, gun control. And there's a lot of people in this country want to do the same thing to us here in a kind of conspiracy, see. You take your big international bankers, they want to, masticate the people of this here nation like puppets on a wing. And then when they get that done, turn us over to the communists.
Oh, Archie, I'm glad they put you on a stool. You look taller sitting down.
Now, I want to talk about another thing that's on everybody's mind today, and that's your stick-ups and your skyjackers, which, if that was up to me, I could end the skyjackers tomorrow.
You could?
All you got to do is arm all your passengers. And if he ain't got no more superiority there, he ain't going to dare to pull out no rod. And then your airlines, then they wouldn't have to chase the passengers on the ground no more. They just pass out the pistols at the beginning of the trip, and they pick them up again at the end. Case closed.
All right, folks, we're going to come right back and analyze this brainwashing and take your phone calls and a lot more. But this is how programming works. This is how it's always worked. But, you know, in the states where they have said everybody can be armed with concealed carry, crime rates go down on average 24%. So actually, that sounds radical to gelded, domesticated slaves, but not to everybody else. We'll be right back. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and go to your phone calls. Eric and Walt and Steve and George and Bill and many others that are patiently holding us do have one line open. That's a rarity, 877-590-5525 or 836-0590. And if you disagree with me, you also are welcome to call. Go to the head of the line, as long as we can keep it civil here, myself included. You know, I have problems with that. 877-590-5525. And coming up, Government Ready's Youth Corps to take on vets. 10 minutes into errant mayhem in his town near the Mexican border, and a gunman, a disgruntled Iraq war veteran, has already taken out two people. One slumped in his desk, the other covered with blood on the floor. But here come the Boy Scouts under Homeland Security Command to seek and destroy and wipe out the vets. That's what the New York Times is reporting. And, you know, this isn't just one little case of it. There's hundreds and hundreds I'm aware of, so I'm going to try to give folks the big picture. This happened in Germany. This happens in Russia. This happens in China. I'm going to break down. And folks are on Infowars.com, you know, reading this article we wrote, Government Ready's Youth Corps to take on vets. And they are saying, oh, look at these kids. They look like wimps. They'd be easy to wipe out. They're not coming today. They're training them when they're young and impressionable to turn them loose on you when they're 18 years old. Yes, we know at 14 they're not that formidable. The point is,